The news broke like a thunderclap. Boeing, the icon of American industry, has ceased all production in the United States. For decades, Boeing's factories have been the beating heart of American innovation, powering not just the aviation sector, but entire communities across the nation. Now, those once bustling spaces stand eerily quiet, their silence echoing the gravity of this moment. The assembly lines that once connected the world have gone silent. Where thousands of skilled hands once worked in harmony, there is now only stillness and uncertainty. This is not a temporary halt. It's a full stop, sending shockwaves from Wall Street to small-town machine shops. Investors are reeling, and local businesses that depended on Boeing contracts are facing an uncertain future. Boeing's shutdown marks a crisis of unprecedented scale for the American economy, threatening hundreds of thousands of jobs and unraveling a century-old industrial web. Families who have relied on Boeing for generations now face unemployment and anxiety about what comes next. The immediate questions are staggering. What happens to the workforce? Can suppliers survive? Will entire towns built around Boeing's presence be able to adapt, or will they fade away? What does this mean for America's global standing? With Boeing grounded, the nation's influence in international aviation and trade is suddenly in jeopardy, raising concerns about national security and economic leadership. We'll explore the reasons behind this drastic move. Years of safety scandals, financial turmoil, and fierce global competition. Each factor has chipped away at Boeing's foundation, leading to this dramatic collapse. The consequences are immediate and long-term, impacting workers, supply chains, and the nation's economic future. From halted shipments to rising unemployment, the ripple effects are being felt in every corner of the country. The political fallout is explosive, with former President Trump already assigning blame and fueling outrage. Lawmakers are scrambling to respond, while protests erupt outside government buildings, demanding answers and action. As Boeing's factories fall silent, the nation faces a sobering question. Can American industry recover from this historic blow? Or is this the beginning of a new era of uncertainty for the country's manufacturing might? Boeing's dramatic shutdown is the culmination of years of relentless crises and mounting challenges that the company simply could not overcome. A series of devastating safety failures, most notably the tragic 737 MAX crashes, exposed deep flaws in Boeing's engineering and oversight. Ongoing quality issues continued to erode public trust, while regulatory agencies launched intense investigations and imposed strict crackdowns, further damaging Boeing's reputation. Financially, Boeing was hemorrhaging billions of dollars. Grounded fleets, massive compensation payouts to airlines, and persistent production flaws drained its resources and left the company struggling to stay afloat. Meanwhile, rival Airbus seized the opportunity, rapidly outpacing Boeing in both orders and deliveries. At the same time, inflation and global supply chain chaos made it nearly impossible for Boeing's U.S. operations to remain competitive or sustainable. Airlines, once loyal customers, lost faith in Boeing's ability to deliver safe and reliable aircraft. Many began canceling or delaying orders, leaving Boeing's order book in tatters and its future uncertain. Faced with mounting losses and no clear path forward, Boeing's leadership saw no alternative but to initiate a total shutdown, hoping to reset the company from the ground up and address its systemic problems. In a memo to employees, the CEO described the move as a fundamental reset, a painful but necessary step to confront deep-rooted engineering, safety, and cultural failures that had plagued Boeing for years. For thousands of workers and suppliers, however, the shutdown feels like a catastrophic collapse, threatening livelihoods and sending shockwaves throughout the entire aerospace industry. Boeing's strategic reset is a high-stakes gamble for survival. For many, though, it marks the end of an era, closing a historic chapter in American aviation. The economic shock was instant. Boeing's stock plummeted, sending shockwaves through the financial world and catching investors off guard. The sudden drop dragged the Dow down with it, erasing billions in market value in a matter of hours, and leaving traders scrambling to contain the fallout. Investors fled not just Boeing, but its entire supply network, triggering a wave of financial instability that rippled through related industries and left portfolios in disarray. As America's top exporter, Boeing's shutdown blows a massive hole in the nation's trade balance, disrupting global supply chains and halting shipments that once fueled American exports. The loss of Boeing's exports threatens to widen the U.S. trade deficit, putting additional pressure on an already fragile economic landscape. Economists warn the shock could tip the U.S. into recession, as the loss of such a major player sends ripples through every sector, from manufacturing to services. Business investment and consumer confidence nosedive, with companies freezing spending and shoppers growing wary about the future, leading to quieter malls and empty offices. Other manufacturers are now spooked, pausing expansion and hiring, deepening the economic freeze and putting thousands of jobs at risk across the country. For everyday Americans, Boeing's collapse shakes faith in the economy's stability, making families anxious about their own financial security and the future of their communities. This uncertainty is likely to curb spending and growth, as people tighten their budgets and businesses brace for leaner times ahead. State and local governments face budget crises as Boeing's tax contributions vanish, leaving officials scrambling to fill funding gaps and keep essential services running. Forced to make tough choices, many are cutting back on public services like education, safety, and infrastructure, impacting daily life for millions. Communities in Washington and South Carolina, where Boeing's presence was once a source of pride and prosperity, now brace for fiscal disaster and a wave of local business closures. The tremors are just beginning, but the foundations of the American economy are already shaking, with uncertainty looming over what comes next. For 150,000 Boeing employees, the shutdown is a personal disaster. Generations of skilled workers in places like Everett and North Charleston now face sudden unemployment and shattered futures. Each Boeing job supports several more in the community. Local businesses, suppliers, and families all feel the blow. Unemployment in these regions is set to skyrocket, with specialized skills offering few alternatives. Many will be forced to retrain, relocate, or accept lower wages, fracturing communities and accelerating economic polarization. The psychological toll is immense, pride replaced by anger at corporate mismanagement and a sense of betrayal. The human cost of Boeing's collapse is written on the faces of families left behind. Boeing's shutdown has thrown its vast supply chain, over 11,000 suppliers nationwide, into chaos. Orders are canceled, warehouses are full of unsellable parts, and invoices go unpaid. Small suppliers, often entirely dependent on Boeing, face bankruptcy within weeks. The domino effect will devastate local economies, especially in states like Kansas, California, and Ohio. Years of specialization for Boeing's needs have left these companies with skills and equipment useless elsewhere. Even if Boeing restarts, many suppliers won't survive, making future recovery nearly impossible. The loss of this industrial network could cripple America's ability to build complex aircraft for decades. The damage to U.S. manufacturing may be permanent. Boeing's shutdown signals America's fading industrial dominance. Airbus now holds a near monopoly, forcing airlines worldwide to renegotiate and giving Europe immense leverage. The center of aviation innovation shifts to Europe and China, with China's COMAC poised to fill the gap. U.S. influence in global trade and diplomacy weakens as aircraft sales, once a tool of soft power, evaporate. International banks and leasing companies face massive uncertainty, destabilizing the aviation finance market. America's role as a technological and economic leader is under threat. This is not just a U.S. crisis, it's a global upheaval. The political firestorm erupted instantly, with Trump blaming the Biden administration for Boeing's collapse. His posts frame the shutdown as a symbol of American decline and promise a revival through deregulation and tax cuts. The Biden administration scrambles to respond, promising aid for workers and exploring intervention to save critical capacity. Congress is deeply divided. Republicans blame regulatory overreach. Democrats point to corporate greed. Hearings are called, and Boeing's empty factories become a new battleground in America's political war. The crisis exposes deep partisan rifts and raises urgent questions about the future of U.S. industry. As politicians trade blame, workers and communities wait for real solutions. The political fallout is just beginning. Boeing's shutdown creates a national security crisis. Its defense and commercial operations are intertwined. Halting production threatens delivery of vital military hardware. The U.S. military faces delays in modernizing its fleet, risking readiness at a time of global tension. Boeing's role in defense R&D is critical. The loss of engineers and suppliers could set back U.S. military tech for a decade. The Pentagon scrambles for solutions, considering emergency measures like invoking the Defense Production Act. America's defense now depends on a failed private company, exposing a dangerous vulnerability. The shutdown leaves a void at the heart of the military-industrial complex. National security is suddenly at risk. Boeing's shutdown is a watershed moment, a story of corporate failure, regulatory struggle, and human cost. The economic fallout is immediate: markets in turmoil, exports gutted, and recession looming. Workers and families face an uncertain future, while thousands of businesses may never recover. America's global standing is shaken, with rivals poised to fill the void. The political and national security crises are explosive, demanding urgent action. Boeing's empty factories stand as monuments to a crisis years in the making. The nation must now reckon with the fragility of its industrial base and its ability to lead. As the dust settles, one question remains: can America still build big things, or has it lost its edge?